Hello, this is a video over trigonometric ratios. Now this can be a very confusing concept, but in reality it's very simple. We have three trigonometric ratios, and those are going to be sine, cosine, and tangent. Now sine means that we're going to take the opposite side and divide it by the hypotenuse. Cosine means we're going to take the adjacent side and divide that by the hypotenuse. Tangent means we're going to take the opposite side and divide that by the adjacent side. So I'm going to show you what this means here in a second, but I use these words to help me remember what sine is, what cosine is, and what tangent is. And what I do is I take the first letter of each of these words. So sine means we're taking the opposite over the hypotenuse, which gives us the word so. Cosine means I'm taking C, A, and H, that's adjacent over hypotenuse, and I write ca. And then tangent means I'm taking the opposite side over adjacent, so the word that I get here is toa. So I have this phrase, so ka toa, that will help you remember what each of these mean, okay? So now let's draw a triangle because we use these ratios to describe triangles. Okay, so in this example, what you have is you have a right triangle, and this is one of my favorite right triangles. It's a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. I have three sides. I have three angles. I have angle X, angle Y, and my 90-degree angle. I'm going to focus on angle X for right now, okay? So within angle X, I want to take this perspective of angle X and label my side lengths, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label the longest side in a triangle is always called the hypotenuse. I'm going to label that with an H, okay? The side that is next to my angle X, that's not my hypotenuse, is the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. I'm then going to be left with my last side, and that's a side length that is opposite my angle X, okay? So every time that I'm trying to write out my trig functions, I have to look at the angle measure, and I have to then label my side lengths, okay? So what I want to find is I want to find sine of x, cosine of x, and tangent of x. And so all I'm saying is I want to write my sine ratio from the perspective of angle x. So I'm not taking sine times x. This is sine of x. X is my angle measure, okay? So sine says that I need to take the opposite side divided by my hypotenuse. So I'm simply going to come here and say, all right, well, my opposite side is 3 and my hypotenuse is 5. So all I do is write the ratio of 3 over 5. For cosine of x, take the perspective of x. I'm going to take the adjacent side divided by my hypotenuse. So 4 divided by 5, and that's my ratio. Tangent means that I'm going to take my opposite side divided by my adjacent side. So given angle x, my opposite side is 3, my adjacent is 4, and so I'm going to write 3/4. That's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is just writing these ratios, okay? Now, sometimes you may have to find some of these side lengths, either using special right triangles or my good friend Pythagoras. He's got that awesome theorem that allows you to find side lengths of a right triangle, but that's all I'm doing. Now, I'm going to use the same triangle, but we're going to look at angle Y. Okay, I have the same triangle, and instead of using X, we're going to take the perspective of angle Y. And I want to find sine of y, cosine of y, and tangent of y. Now, before I do that, from the perspective of angle y, I have to label my side lengths of my triangle. Now, again, my hypotenuse is going to be the same. Okay, it's always the longest side. It's always opposite my 90-degree angle. So I'm going to label that with an H. Now, my side that is next to my angle y, the one that helps create angle y, but it's not the hypotenuse, is my adjacent side. So this, I'm going to label this as my adjacent side. And then the one that is opposite of angle y is my opposite side. So that's opposite. All right, so every time I have this, I find my angle, write out my, label my side lengths of that triangle using opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. And then I use SOHCAHTOA to write out my ratios. So sine, remember, that's just your opposite side divided by your hypotenuse. So that's going to give me 4/5. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's going to be 3/5. Oops, 5. Okay. Tangent of y is my opposite side divided by my adjacent side, so that's going to be 4/3. All I'm doing is simply writing these ratios. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else in this. Now, what we will use in the next couple of sections, in the next couple of videos, is using these equations here to write out equations and find missing values, okay? So we'll be able to use trig functions to find lengths of the triangle and angle measures of that triangle, okay? So remember, the last thing I want to say is when I write out my trig functions, sine of y, cosine of y, tangent of y, I get numbers. So my trig functions are really just numbers. And I'll start the next video by talking about how we utilize this, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please use it to your advantage. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye!